President Trump's new executive order pledges to drastically lower prescription drug prices by instituting a most favored nation policy, ensuring Americans pay no more than the lowest prices paid anywhere from the world. I spoke with former Congressman and spokesman for the Pharmaceutical Reform Alliance, J.D. Hayworth, about the significance of this action. Take a look. You've been advocating for fair prices from the pharmaceutical industry. That's what the Pharmaceutical Reform Alliance is all about. What do you make of this executive order?
Stephanie, it's great to be with you, and it is a great sign, very encouraging, that President Trump issued the executive order prior to taking his trip to the Middle East, because he wants to put Americans first, and the sad fact is that Big Pharma has had Americans last. The president pointed it out, Secretary Kennedy, others have, and the fact is that on average, American citizens pay 3 times as much as citizens of other nations in the developed world when it comes to pharmaceutical drugs. And so we take a look at those prescription drugs and we go, wait a minute, why are we paying this? And you know, Stephanie, what's interesting is the American people feel it in their pocketbooks. And even last year, prior to that election, where we heard about all the polarization, the Kaiser Family Foundation did a poll that said 89% of Republicans, 84% of Democrats, and just under 80%, I think it was 78% of independents, believe that Big Pharma is more interested in profits than they are in providing prescription care to Americans. And that's very distressing. So the president acted on that, and we find that incredibly encouraging.
And while this executive order is good news for anyone, some Democrats don't believe this will actually come to fruition. Senator Bernie Sanders, for instance, who is the ranking member of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, released a statement saying Trump knows his executive order will be thrown out by courts, and went on to say the problem is not the price of prescription drugs being too low in Europe and Canada, but the problem lies with the pharmaceutical industry itself. Your response?
Well, it's very interesting, and I'm not here to cast any partisan stones, because it's important that we approach this not as Republicans or Democrats or even socialists, since that's Bernie's self-identification there in Vermont, but we approach this as Americans. And the fact is, Big Pharma has a lobbying assault going on Capitol Hill. The Wall Street Journal reported that Big Pharma spent, 21 million last year on lobbying. This first quarter, Big Pharma has spent, or I checked that, spent 31 million this year, thus far in the first quarter, 13 million. And you can go back and check the records. Bernie got a lot of big bucks from Big Pharma, who has dominated this entire thing. We call it Big Pharma for a reason, Stephanie. And the reason is they have been able to raise prices willy-nilly. At the start of this year, 800 price increases, most of them well outpacing the rate of inflation. So something is wrong. The American people get it. And sadly, what we also see, and no offense to Bernie, who I know and I consider a friend, but I disagree with him, this isn't President Trump's fault. It's not even the, quote, court's fault. This has been set up by Big Pharma and their profiteering.
And I think you make some great points, because this is something where Americans, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, this is something where all Americans can agree upon. Now, I want to touch on something, because you were a member of Congress serving 6 terms, and you sat on the House Ways and Means Committee advocating for market-driven reform and America First policies. What should Congress and state leaders do to support long-term prescription drug reform?
Well, listen to the people, first of all, because as we hear from Americans, regardless of party, they say it's time for serious reforms with Big Pharma. And the other thing is to weigh in, to take a look, to contact your member of Congress or your United States senator and say, look, we need to get this fixed. And there'll be some give and take, but it's part of the process. The president has laid out a sound plan, and if people want to check what we're doing at PRA, pharmareformassociation.com to get a lot more on this information. More time than we have, sadly, in this interview, Stephanie.
And I want to ask, how will President Trump's executive order, how will that affect U.S.-based pharmaceutical production, and what do you expect moving forward?
Well, actually, it's a 1-2 combination because the fact is pharmaceutical manufacturing needs to come back to the United States. The same big pharma companies who have talked about the danger of more drug manufacturing going overseas, in fact, have done that themselves. Again, Big Pharma tries to be on every side of this issue because of their excessive profits, more than twice what the profit margin is for the companies on the S&P 500. So actually, the combination of this executive order and the tariffs should help Big Pharma relocate drug manufacturing back to the United States.
And you mentioned this before, but where can our viewers go to learn more about you and the Pharmaceutical Reform Alliance?
Well, the most important thing is the issue. And when you're putting in the web address, pharmareformalliance.com. That's pharmareformalliance.com, all like one word, all in lowercase. Avoid the punctuation. But I think your wise viewers, Stephanie, are web savvy. They'll know how to do that.
Again, former Congressman and Spokesman for Pharmaceutical Reform Alliance, J.D. Hayworth, thank you so much again for your time.
Stephanie, my pleasure to appear with you. Look forward to visiting with you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.